Yeah, hi folks. Now today's video is regarding the Stop Co-Governance event in Invercargill. Now as that event was over 4 hours long, I'm only going to cover a segment about our deceitful, lying propaganda media and a segment about that lying activist Perry Huriwai-Seger from the Aotearoa Liberation League. And I'll finish off with the question and answer session at the end, which is excellent. And I implore you to watch the rest of the event at the link below.
Here is how the media works. I've been on TV a fair bit. This is nearly always the 6 o'clock news. This is, TV1 and TV3, both of them. This is how the media is working with protesters, because I'm talking about how people are working, how various allies of elite Māori are working to push co-governance through, which I believe is illegal, and they're being aided by the media. It's an ally. And so this is a TV news report that I'm going to show you. Watch how this media report is manipulated to create an alarming impression. What they want to do is this. The media wants to portray my meetings as dangerous. You could get knifed. There could be a gun go off in Julian's meeting. We cancel out of a meeting in Hamilton, and the council wrote to us and said, we've had worries about guns, knives, flying objects at your meetings. Well, look at them. Look at all the guns and the knives here. We should have a metal detector going through here, right? Hopefully none of you's got any of those. But that's what they're saying. They want to portray us as dangerous, and that's to put you off coming. The star of this show is somebody called Michaela Matanga. She's a Maori activist, and the media are collaborating with her. So I'm just going to give you a little commentary as we go through this.
Scenes in the North Auckland township of Huriwai last night, with police having to separate protesters from attendees. The meeting didn't get violent, but comes at a time when the term co-governance is controversial, and there are still 42 more events planned. Tia McDougall reports.
Chanting no in the faces of Māori protesters.
Okay, let me tell you what that was about. We were having a meeting just like this. There was about 200 people in the room. They were all peaceful. We just started and it was lovely. Next minute, 50 protesters, 99% of the Māori, came in the back of the room and they moved down through the room. I had a guy doing a haka up the middle, and they were shoving cell phones in. They got amongst the crowd and they were just going and shoving cell phones in their faces. And so the media wants to present this as the crowd were the ones who were the aggressors going rah into the camera. But that girl who went rah into the camera, what she was doing was just reacting to somebody shoving a cell phone in her face. And then they say the supporters of Julian didn't hold back. And you heard a sort of like a paper hit something, and it looks like you guys were, or the supporters, the people who'd come to the meeting, were aggressive. But really they were just swatting away the people who are shoving cell phones in their faces. The media doesn't report this. It tells you in a twisted way what's happening at this meeting, and it's all completely wrong.
Supporters of the anti-co-governance roadshow didn't hold back when confronted by those opposing the meeting. The roadshow is organised by this man, Julian Batchelor, who wants to spread his stance on co-governance.
It's illegal. It's based on a fraudulent interpretation of the Treaty of Waitangi.
And it is?
However, he's often met with protesters. Yesterday's were from local iwi, Ngātu Manuhiri, and members of the Te Herenga Waka or Orewa Marae.
Oh, shut up! The protesters don't know what a racist is, and they don't know what the Treaty of Waitangi is.
From being there, I could tell that the attendees were fearful, and they were worried, and they were misinformed.
I didn't. Okay, so she says three things. I could tell they were worried, they were fearful, and they were misinformed. Well, hang on a minute. The only reason they were worried because 50 protesters came in and roughed up the meeting. The only reason that they were, what was the other word she used? Sorry? Fearful was because of the protesters, and she says, and they were misinformed. Well, we actually had a secret camera in that meeting, And we were filming this lady, this one here, who's the butter wouldn't melt in your mouth activist. And you know what she was doing? You know how we have a book on every seat? She was going around the seats, and she was picking up the books and ripping them up and throwing them in the air. She was vandalizing all our books. She wasn't listening to a word I said. She wouldn't know whether the people were being misinformed. She was too busy vandalizing stuff. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. But anyway, let's see how they keep making a false report here.
Expect it to be what it was. There was about 20 to 30 police officers there.
Authorities kept the peace, but insults were still exchanged.
He said, what was it? Horrible. You're horrible. And then he followed up by saying, and you probably stink as well.
Okay. How would you describe the behaviour?
Okay, so what they did is TV3 got that footage from an activist's cell phone, and they thought, how do we portray Julian as being supportive of bad behaviour? So what they did is they got the footage of a guy saying you're horrible and you probably stink as well, and then they said, Julian, what did you? Without me seeing that footage, they say, Julian, what did you think of your supporters? And I say, oh, they were great, which makes me look like I'm the guy who's endorsing bad behaviour. So this was all stitched together. You would never know this unless you knew all the background.
Of some of your supporters.
Oh, my supporters were fantastic. They were amazing. Sometimes they're a little bit conservative.
But supporters are not enough. Batchelor wants his message known at the Beehive.
And that is what they're afraid of.
I've had political parties talk to me. I'm not prepared to say who they are. I'm trying to get 100,000 people to the Auckland Domain just before the election to send that message to all the political parties.
A message to end co-governance. It's a touchy subject for some politicians, but not all.
We've been really clear that actually not just co-governance, but tino rangatiratanga for Māori and iwi and hapu is of benefit to all of us as a founding kaupapa of this country.
For now, there are 42 more events planned on the roadshow. Supporters, protesters and police likely preparing to be at all of them. Tim McDougall, News Hub.
Okay, so what they say is this, 42 events, more. And there's going to be police and protesters at all of them. And all the nice people go, oh, I don't want to be part of that. That sounds bad. I want to stay away from all that. And of course, we've got a great crowd tonight. So you guys have resisted. Congratulations. You've resisted the media fiction. And you got here. Well, now I'm going to show you. I'll turn the sound off here at my end, you guys. I'm just going to show you the footage of this girl. And here she is. And what she was really up to in the meeting caught on our secret camera. This is pretty eye-opening. Okay, so here's me in the meeting. Here, look. This is Huriwai. And this is her. She comes in here. She's looking for books. And you see what she's doing? She's ripping them up. Wait, watch. Watch the hand movements. There we go. Rip on the floor. On the floor. Then this guy comes along. He's the guy that says you're horrible and you probably stink as well. Now they didn't show him, did they?
Gotcha, girl.
But he's the guy, actually the good guy, trying to stop her vandalising our materials. Now over here, just out of shot, is a policeman. He's just watching. He does nothing. She's actively vandalising our stuff. So watch how this finishes. Look. There's a little bit of a tussle. He goes to sit down. She says, bugger off, I want to get these books and rip them all up. There's the policeman. She goes back. Look, she goes back there right in front of the cop. She takes our book. That's my book. You can see it's my book. There you go. Now, what do you think of that? Well, who else are we at war with? We're at war with Maori activists, either activist journalists or simply activist. Watch this guy. He's a star activist.
That's for sure. Now that is Peri Huriwai-Seger from the Aotearoa Liberation League.
And he's one of the biggest liars that's ever walks the fields of New Zealand.
It spews out his mouth.
Watch what he says.
Is racism.
I have to say this. If you read Article 3 of the treaty in Te Reo Māori, Ngā tikanga reo te kihitahi.
She then mistranslates
It says that everyone has equal rights and duties under the law.
Relying on the public not speaking te reo Māori, treaty denialists often pretend that Article 3 erases Māori rights. The document itself is very clear. Article 1. Māori give the Crown the right to govern British settlers. At this time, there were 80,000 self-governing Māori and 2,000 settlers with no government. Article 2 affirms that Māori retain their sovereignty and Māori agree to only sell land to the Crown. In return, the Crown agrees in Article 3 to give Māori the same rights as British subjects. Māori and the British both govern themselves under the protection of the Queen. Te Tiriti o Waitangi grants neither side authority to rule the other. Lying about that is racist because it seeks to maintain colonial control at the expense of our rights to self-determination.
Okay, so he sounds quite comfortable. He's reading an auto cue. You know what an auto cue is, what they do with the news. So he sounds quite confident. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but he's a terrible liar. And so what he's doing is he's actually leading a lot of Maori astray, because I have activists write to me and Maori journalists write to me, and they say, bro, you need to read this. And they say absolute rubbish in it. And they say, you know what, Maori are not going to listen to you, Julian, because you're white. But they'll listen to Maori. Now, if they listen to him, they're going to be led completely astray. Do you know what? If you have somebody who leads you into truth, they're your friend. If somebody that you know leads you into lies, they're not your friend. True? It doesn't just go for the treaty, it goes for anything in life. If you have people around you that lead you into truth, they're your friend. No matter what it is. Economic truth, truth about gardening, truth about life, truth about relationships, truth about money, they're your friend. If they lead you into lies, they're not your friend. This guy's not your friend. If you're a Maori, he's your enemy because he's speaking lies. Watch. In 1 minute, 19 seconds, he tells 10 lies and 2 truths. Here they are. Lie number 1. His accusation is that non-Maori say that Article 3 of the treaty erases Maori rights. Absolutely wrong. No one has ever said this. The opposite is true. It gives Maori the same rights as everyone else. That's Article 3 of the treaty. Via the treaty, Maori became British citizens and thus they received rights. So he's telling the opposite. Line number 2, he implies that if you don't speak Maori, you can't understand the treaty. Oh, that's completely so bad. Look, I'll just give you a quick thing because I don't want to give you too much about this, but I'll just tell you what happened. The final English draft from which the Maori Treaty was formulated is called the Littlewood Draft. It has that name because it was given to a lawyer called Henry Littlewood. Okay? It was in English. That's the final draft that they made Te Tiriti from, the Maori Treaty. Yeah? Now, those two, English, Maori, they're a mirror image of each other. You don't need to know Maori to understand the treaty. You just read the Littlewood Draft. And if you read my book, I've put the Littlewood Draft in here for you. So if you can read this, you understand the Maori perfectly. Some of you are not very excited about that, but I tell you, I am very excited about that because you don't need to know Maori. So he's lying about that. He wants to make it sort of like, you've got to be a Maori before you can understand it. That's not true. No, not true again. Just read the English Littlewood Draft. Line number 3. Maori gave the Crown the right to govern British settlers. Oh, really? Come on. The Queen was the greatest ruler in the world. She had the greatest empire in the world. And all historians, she was bigger than America is now in terms of superpowers. By 1900, 1/5 of the world was under the control of the British. And historians describe Maori, when the settlers arrived here, as a primitive Stone Age tribal group. And you're talking about a little group, Stone Age tribal group, telling the greatest ruler in the world what to do. That's like Vanuatu telling the United States what to do. It's simply stupid. But he says it's true. No, wrong. Maori ceded sovereignty. Number 4, there were 80,000 self-governing Maori in New Zealand in 1840. Completely untrue. No, Maori was self-annihilating, cannibalism, slavery, and infanticide were rife. There was no unifying Maori government, only tribes at war. It was Maori who came to the British wanting a treaty to save them from themselves and the French. Between 1800 and 1840, watch this, stay with me. Between 1800 and 1840, the Maori population went down from 150,000 to 70,000. This was Maori killing Maori. They were self-annihilating. And the reason was Wakanene, an intelligent Maori chief and others, came to the British and said, you know what? If we don't stop warring, there's going to be no Maori left in this country. You've got to help us. They were like alcoholics, but alcoholics about war. They couldn't stop warring. They were addicted. And you know when an alcoholic comes to his senses and goes, you know what? Here's a eureka moment. If I don't stop drinking, I'm going to die. And Wakanene and other chiefs had the same experience, but it was about war. And then you remember the French? 1772, Dufresne, the captain, came here with a couple of boats exploring the world. He went into a bay and put down anchor. Weighed anchor is the right word. He weighed anchor, went ashore. Dufresne, the captain, with 25 others in his boat and another boat. And when he got on the shore, he was captured by Maori and a whole boatload was eaten. 26 of them. The others made it back, and they went and they set up a military hospital on Motutua Island, which is just off where I live in Rafiti in the Bay of Islands. Military hospital means they had soldiers. And one night, under the moonlight, a flotilla of Maori waka came from the mainland and attacked that military hospital. Maori had never seen a gun before, and some say in as little time as 20 minutes, 250 Maori were killed. A few escaped, and they went back to the mainland, and they told about this, told all the other Maori. And they said, you know what? There's people here with fire sticks. They hold things up, fire comes out the end, and they can kill people, and they killed 250 of our warriors in a very short space of time. And this massive fear of the French went through the Maoridom, all the tribes, and they were called the tribe of Marion, the French. And they went to the British and said, save us from the tribe of Marion, because they could come back any time with ships, unload 1,000 soldiers and walk through the bush and kill all of us and just take New Zealand. So they said, save us from the French. Did you know that? Lie number 5. So I want you to remember this. This is huge. The main reason that we have the treaty is the Maori wanted it. Lie number 5, Maori gave the Crown the right to govern British settlers. No, they did not. Maori ceded sovereignty. Lie number 6, Article 2, Maori retained their sovereignty. No, Maori ceded sovereignty. He keeps on telling us this lie. Then he makes a true statement, Article 2, Maori agreed to only sell land to the Crown. That's true. Then he makes another true statement, the treaty agreed to give Maori the same rights as British subjects. That's true. Then he goes straight back onto lies, Maori and the Crown both govern themselves. No, Maori agreed to be solely governed by the British. Is that true, yes or no? It's true. The treaty is so clear about this. There can only be one government in New Zealand, and that is the democratically elected government. Next one, line number 8. The treaty gives neither side the authority to rule over the other. No, through cession, Maori gave the British the right to rule over Maori. Line number 9. Lying about the treaty is racist. In other words, if you say Maori ceded sovereignty in the treaty, you're a liar. And you're a racist. Well, then I'm a liar and I'm a racist. Because I'm absolutely certain, 100%, Maori ceded sovereignty. He tells me I'm a racist if I say that. He doesn't know the truth. No, speaking the truth about the treaty does not make me a racist. Maori ceded sovereignty in the treaty. Conclusion, this activist is leading Maori away from the truth and into lies and misinformation. As such, he is doing great damage inside Maoridom. Breach number 10. If you say Maori didn't cede sovereignty, you're undermining the rights of Maori to self-determination. Now, this little phrase, self-determination, has come up a lot. You hear it a lot. Well, what do we mean by that? Well, no. Currently, Maori have the same rights as everyone else to self-determination. What do we mean by that? In fact, they have more rights. By self-determination, we mean that each person, individual person, regardless of race, has the right to choose a path in life and go for it. Is that true in New Zealand, yes or no? If you want to be a plumber, an electrician, or you want to be a nurse, or you want to be a stay-at-home mum, or you want to be whatever you want, you can go for it in New Zealand. Nobody holds you back, true? Okay, well, that's what we mean by self-determination. But by self-determination, we do not mean Maori setting up their own country and government within New Zealand, and for this they have no right. This is tribal rebellion. It's treason, and therefore a glaring breach of the treaty. It must be stopped.
Now, the sound was off for the question, but you'll get the gist from Julian's answer.
No, you're going to really stuff it up. You know why? This is my understanding of electoral law. To get a Maori seat, you have to have 33,000 people to get a new Maori electorate, Maori seat. For a European, it's 47,000. There's 47,000 people. So if they get more people on the Maori roll, they get more and more Maori seats. And if you go putting yourself on the Maori seat, Maori roll, you're going to push the number of Maoris on the roll up, and they could have 20 or 35 MPs in Parliament. How would you like to have 30 Waititis in there?
No way.
So just don't do that. I'm glad you asked about that. Don't do that. We have to just stop co-governance and stop this nonsense.
Yeah, just two reflections. The recent report that's come out last week on the future of local government has a really scary provision in it that's gone under the radar. So what it says is that they recommend to central government that they change the laws into New Zealand so that local government, as opposed to central government or the Crown, is now a partner to the treaty. So you can imagine where that will take us. It means local will be open to the Waitangi Tribunal. So that's a really scary thought, and that's the recommendation from that panel, and it sits in a whole lot of other stuff, but it's the scariest one.
No, yeah, go on.
And the other issue is that I keep recalling what a local Ngāi Tahu leader said to me about 3 weeks ago. He said, until we get out of grievance mode, we'll always be victims. And while we're victims, we will never have wellness. And while iwi never has wellness, nor does New Zealand.
Okay, well, that's very true, isn't it? I mean, you can't get clearer than that. Somebody else got a question. Thank you, Nobby.
With what you've said, I just want to know, do you think there's any real threat of a civil war if these people won't give up?
Now, that is a very, very good question.
For what they really, really want? Because
I hope there's never a civil war. Like I say to you, the pen is more powerful than the sword. We want to win it with this and this. But, we have to stop this. There's people, I'm getting phoned by people who are saying, once a week people are saying, gone out and bought guns. And I say, don't use those, mate. Just let's try and fight this peacefully and try and stop it peacefully. But unfortunately, they're being funded by the government, and, it's a really bad situation. You have to help me, you guys. I'm trying to build a team of people in Invercargill who will get one of my books into every single letterbox in the whole of... That's why I asked you to fill out that bit of paper. We have to work as a team now. You can't be just nice little Kiwis anymore. You have to put on a new thing. Do you know what? When New Zealanders went to war in the Second World War, some of them were just little sheep farmers, and they got into the front line, and they had a gun stuck in their hand, and they had to change from being a nice, polite, nice little farmer into a, if you don't kill, you're going to get killed. They had to become soldiers. So you can't just be little complaining Kiwis. You have to rise up and say, we've got to stop this. Not with guns. Sorry?
I said, but not with guns, unless someone misrepresents.
No. I'm never saying with guns. I'm not saying that about guns. I told you at the beginning, I'm not into violence. You fight it with this and this, not this. So no guns. But I'm just saying you have to change your attitude, right? I'm not advocating civil, war, but I'm saying you have to change your attitude, because we can't be just nice little Kiwis anymore. You have to say, I'm on the warpath.
Exactly.
and we're going to stop this. Is that fair?
He's absolutely right. We've got to stand up.
You can't be, because they want you to lie down and do nothing. Just complain at home. They go, that's perfect. That's what we want. Just stay at home and don't do anything. Yes, sir. I just give him a microphone, please. Oh, she's been waiting.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go for it.
I hear your heart in this and that you want to see our nation united again. And from what you've said to us, it's already divided.
Mm-hmm.
If co-governance, if what your actions here actually stopped the movement of co-governance forward, our nation is already divided. What's going to bring the unity? Because there's an old Hebrew proverb that says, a nation divided against itself, it will fall. So I want to know what it is that you will do. You've spoken out against this, and to be honest, what I've heard, a lot of what I've heard today is actually not stuff is actually going to bring unity. There's a lot of, I'm guessing there's a lot of people here that are feeling quite stirred up and resentful for some of the stuff that you've presented. So I'd like to know.
Yeah, it's hard to recognise the truth, isn't it? Or admit to the truth.
What it is that you're going to bring as a solution to the problem.
You have to, I'm hoping that you would not get that from it, but I'm saying this, look, this stuff exists, so we have to face it, right? We can't just say, let's all love each other and give each other a hug. That's not going to work. You have to say we have to get rid of co-governance completely, and we have to reboot New Zealand like you would a computer.
Mm-hmm.
New Zealand needs an absolute reboot. Sexualisation of little children in schools, all the co-governance stuff, the screwing of farmers, the infiltration of schools and propaganda in schools. The whole country is rotting.
Exactly. Now, he's right on the button with this, and he expresses himself very, very well. He's a potential leader.
Yeah, but it's not just the whole world. Let's just focus. Don't worry about the whole world. Worry about Invercargill and our country, because we're in serious trouble. And if we don't get rid of, we can rebuild the country if we get rid of these things and reboot New Zealand like a computer. That is what's going to bring. We lived in a country in the 70s and 80s when I was, going to school where there was none of this. And
yeah, I recall that.
There was no co-governance. Yeah, but that didn't bring racial division. We have to reboot the hard drive of this country. That's what's going to happen. Yes, sir. Yes, madam. Sorry, you're next.
We have a weekly newspaper that comes in their.
Put it right up to your mouth, please.
We have a weekly newspaper that's free that comes in our letterbox every Thursday, and it's called The Express. And I looked at it the other day, and I went onto the real estate section, and out fell was this A3 Treaty Waitangi thing, and I couldn't find out who's paying for it. But you mentioned some historic.
That's Te Raparana Ngāta.
Yeah.
That's a basic reproduction of his book.
It's really, really great to see these people. I really wanted to. Now, this is the first time for me to see actual people speaking from the or asking questions from the audience. Now, I think these people are really, really brave.
Book called The Treaty of Waitangi, an explanation, and it wasn't paid for by me. It was paid for to go into all newspapers by the Centre of Political Research, Muriel Newman and her husband Frank. But they got donations to do that, to put an insert in there, and I've got to go over that to have a look at what they've actually printed.
Well, yeah, it's all in last Thursday's
I know.
Express.
Yeah, so that wasn't me who did that, but I think it was a wonderful idea, wasn't it?
That's right.
I think it was a great idea. Okay, next question. Yeah. Somebody down the back.
Oh, kia ora everyone. Hey.
Yeah, and when she starts off with that word, she's an imposter.
Hey, first of all, I just wanted to kind of make a quick comment about how amazingly passive and amazing listeners you all are this evening. You've listened for 3 hours without even questioning anything or without even stirring in your seats. So may I suggest you all go to university and listen to some lectures, because yeah, you all listen very, very well. So congratulations. Pardon?
It's called Manners. Question time is now.
Oh yeah, no.
What's your question?
Great.
Yeah, what's your question?
Manners. I just wanted to know, as a show of hands, how many people have been to university in this room? Oh, jeepers, okay. So I recommend it, because that's where you're going to hear the truth.
Oh my God, what an imbecile. That's where you'll hear the truth.
And you're going to hear...
and everybody rightfully laughs.
Yeah, so...
Thank you. I hope you got that. Can you tell me anything untruthful that you heard tonight? Were there any of the speeches of the chiefs untruthful?
I just want to ask just a question, because I am a Christian too, and I believe that God wants unity for our people. He doesn't want division at all. And so I just want to see, has anyone got grandchildren or children that have been in Polyfest in Invercargill? Could you put your hand up if you've had grandchildren or children in Polyfest, or you have been to Polyfest? Okay, awesome. Please put your hand up if you have been to the Matariki Festival at Queen's Park and seen the lights there. Okay, has this added to our community? Has it? No. Please use your manners. You were talking about manners before, so please use your manners. But it's not your time yet. It's my time to talk. Okay.
It's your time to ask a question.
I just want us to think about what is happening within our community and with our children it's positive. You think about all those things that are positive. You never lose who you are by learning something more about somebody else. Hands up if you've been overseas. Yeah, no. Oh, please. Most people have been overseas because they want to grow who they are as a person or who they are as a community.
What is your point?
Thank you.
We've had 3 hours of it, mate. But anyway...
Okay, hang on.
No. This is a comment about our society. It's not a question, it's a comment. Okay? No. I just want to say, think carefully about the message that's been said tonight, because I'm about unity. God's about unity. He is not about separating people and causing a them and us.
Okay,
and that's what I feel.
I'll make a comment to that. Let me just comment on that. You know what? You talk about this as being a Christian. Bring the camera over here. Unity is always got to be based on truth. You only get unity when it's based on truth. Everything that's happening about co-governance is not based on truth. It's based on deceit, lies, and trickery. Now, you can't build unity like that. It has to start from truth. That's a fact. You have to build unity on truth. If you try and build unity on trickery, deceit, and lies, it'll fall over. The house that was built on sand was washed away because it was built not on truth. I'm telling the truth tonight, so you've got to rebuild everything about the treaty that we've been taught. Matariki and all that sort of stuff, in my opinion, is brainwashing, and it's propaganda, and it's grooming the country for tribal takeover. Maori signs on road signs are just nothing but propaganda and grooming. Maori words in legislation all through our country forcing te reo is nothing to do with preserving the Maori language. It has to do with grooming the population for tribal takeover. That's my opinion. It's what I believe. Okay, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but I don't agree with you. Hang on a minute. It's not your time to have a big talk.
My question was just in regards to, I guess, off the back of that, in regards to the media stuff that you've been talking about, as someone working in the media who understands how the media works, and whose role, dare I say it, is actually funded by that
very fund that you're talking about and who has read the full legislation there, that I've never had any control from government. So I was wondering, what is it that drew you to concluding that that means that government trying to help promote media and fund good media, what's driven you to believe that that means they're controlling the media?
Because it's in the contract.
But that's not what the contract... Yeah.
You're wrong. That's what the contract says.
I've got proof of the most...
I've got... You want to... Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, now this is Nobby Clark, the Mayor of Invercargill.
I've had editors of major newspapers say to me that they won't touch on the co-governance provisions of Three Waters. I've written articles about it. They won't print them because they've told me, these are two large media editors, have told me they will breach the provisions of that fund. That what we've had up there today is only a slight touch on the conditions. The conditions talk about lots of other things as well, and they just won't go with anything that criticises iwi.
Well done, Nobby. Okay, take that. I think what we'll do is we have one... No. I think probably like it's... are you quite happy to be? It's 10:30. Do you want to close it now? Do you want to keep the discussion going? Okay. Yes, give this guy a question. Hang on. Let's be polite, please. Let's be polite.
So all this information that you've gathered and presented beautifully, are you aware of any of this being used as a challenge to the government's interpretation of the Treaty of Waitangi?
Well, without you guys moving around too much, let me say this. We've distributed 350,000 of these booklets. We're just about to print another 100,000. That's nearly 500,000 of these books. These are people all around New Zealand who are enormously concerned about co-governance. What do you think? What do you think Mr. Luxon and Mr. Hipkins and the leaders of the Green Party are going to think when 500,000 people are actually going to be extremely concerned about co-governance and want it expunged from government? They're going to say we have to take co-governance seriously. The more people who become mobilised against co-governance, the more politicians will get interested, because the only thing that interests them is votes. So if we can get a show of strength against co-governance, we can stop it. We have to. So we're strategizing right now. We're getting funding right now. We're getting, look, if you think that $55 million public interest journalism fund is what I've said here is not true, look at all the articles that have come out about me saying I'm teaching rubbish. They're completely against us. It's everything I've shown in the contract is true. It's out there in the papers. Just look in the papers. Yes, madam.
I just want to know how many people here actually... I don't need that. How many people here actually...
No, hey, could you use the mic? Because he wants it for the camera. Thank you.
Just speak into it.
Just speak into it.
I just want to know how many people here stand at the corner what's it called? Burger King, that's the one. By Burger King with us 5 that do every week. Everybody stands here and says, oh, co-governance, co-this, co-that, friggin' school shit, all the rest of it, but nobody else stands there with us. Nobody else helps B-Man, Miriam and I with the barbecues. None of you turn up.
Maybe they didn't know about it. No, this is a lady you're trying to stop co-governance, right, and some other things.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And you want some supporters.
We do. We stand there. We've got all this information up. And said, not for a long time.
Okay, now they know about it, you might get some help, hopefully.
Everybody knows we're here.
Okay. All right, another question?
It's a small question, I promise. I'm not going to waste much of your time.
A small question, she says.
I just want to know, in the future, do you think that... So you say you reference...
And she waffles on and waffles on.
Everything, and that's case of pie, all good. But will you reference the other things that you're saying? You know, the kiriru on, you know, the flight path of the kiriru, the people being dragged on the land, all that sort of thing. Oh, the ripping of your arms. I know that's not a very nice thing. I know that your land being taken is not a very nice thing. I just was wondering if in the future you would consider putting that up there as well so that we can have some solid stone to stand on and all that sort of thing. When you're talking about that.
What you want put up there? I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Well, you said you reference everything and that, you know, everything you say is true. I just want to see some, you know, solid evidence of what you're saying.
You'd like to see the footage of my arms being ripped up.
No. The flight path of the kiriru and the people being dragged on the land, you're saying it's not a pa, but obviously people have reasons to believe that your land is a pa. We're just wondering. Oh, sorry, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking to the speaker. No. It's all right.
Yeah, but
I don't mind what you say.
What do you want? What do you want from me? I'm not clear what you want from me.
What was that? Sorry.
Thank you. Oh, you want me to prove it?
Yeah. Oh, I just want evidence.
Okay, you know, that's proving it. Yeah, okay. Well, I could easily provide that because the police have got all the records of the footage of the lady who scraped her hands down my thing here. What was the other one you want? You want the kiriru. The guy, I've got his number. I got all his details, and he can show you the letter that he got from the government department saying your land has been reclassified because it's in the flight path of a kiriru. Is that what you're wanting?
Yes. And then I do want to hear it. Please, I do. I'm asking if he would consider in the future if you would show that. And then one more. Oh, yeah, I'll take it. And then, Churakazi bro, let's have a kai at the marae. Can we just have a wee screenshot of that as well? Because I think that would be...
Oh, I'm so clever.
Sure.
Pretty cool.
If you,
Chuck it up on the
if you
page.
email me, I'm quite happy to provide all that.
Thank you. Clearly you people have come to create a bit of disturbance. So, you know, we came to listen to the message. We like the message. If you don't like the message, just leave quietly.
Good on you, lady.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions? Because you want questions. And there's an elderly gentleman down the back. You'll be next to...
I came because of this thing that was in the paper and it had a picture of water, and I'm really concerned about water, and that's what I was hoping to hear about today. People can't vote against co-governance unless they actually understand a reason why they need to vote against it, and they haven't got time to listen to everything that you've said. Is there anything about water that you can tell us that will happen that is bad enough for people to understand they need to vote against co-governance?
Well, Nobby Clark knows more about the water than anybody else. So Māori want control of all the water. That's it.
So he's quite right. So while Ngāi Tahu will defend this, they have a High Court case in Christchurch for the ownership of water in their takiwā, which is basically Kaikoura and South. It's been suspended for a little while. I think they're waiting for the outcome of the Three Waters reform. If it goes the way they go, they get a 50% control and they have a total veto right. So that's what they'd want. If they don't get that, I think the High Court case will be reactivated.
Good one. Thanks. Another question. Thanks, Nobby. Another question, the man right down the back.
Yeah, I'd just like to firstly just thank Nobby Clark for being a spokesperson for sort of the local government sector. It's really good to have somebody of his profile actually speaking up about it. And in response to one of the other ladies who spoke down the front about being one of 5 outside Burger King, I think she needs to understand that there are a lot of people around Southland and around the country that are supporting you in other ways that you may not be aware of, particularly in regards to local government. There is an incredible representation of people that I'd like to call patriots who are strongly against co-governance, that are working within the local government sector down here that were elected last year. despite what the local media says, that there are only supposedly 2 in the southern area. They're just false. There are at least a dozen, probably closer to 20, across the southern region alone. So don't feel alone. There are a lot of people that are on your side and support what you do.
Well done, Nobby. Anybody else? Are we just about done? Oh, we got a man here. Yep. Hi, bro.
Yeah, all right. Some of you know me. And
he likes the sound of his own voice.
I bring some knowledge to this topic. What you're doing is pretty good, Julian. But it's part of a bigger picture. It's part of a bigger picture against big predatory government, big regulatory government. I mean, this is only one threat, and it's a serious one. But you've got things like the Parliamentary Council Office, which is the most effective example in the Western world of manufactured legislation. New Zealand creates legislation faster and in greater volume per capita than any other country in the OECD. Robert Jones just published a report 3 weeks ago that New Zealand is now number 43 out of 47 OECD countries for
all very interesting, but not interesting.
Rising debt. So what we see is this is
about stop co-governance.
Governance issue is a very important one, but it's only one arm of the takeover of New Zealand by large global banking corporations and other things that exist at a level much higher than our central government, let alone our local government. So
now, while he might be right in some aspects, this is not the place for that. This is just a lecture.
We need the second one. Okay, just keep going with your natural voice, young man. It's okay.
Threats on the horizon, even if you should manage to be successful in defeating this, you'll still be up against a very, very large globalist agenda, which is
we all know this,
moving inexorably forward through climate change agendas, carbon taxing, methane emissions, international treaties and harmonisation around medicines, around surveillance, around all sorts of things. What you're dealing with is the manufacture and establishment of a global, totalitarian, high-tech, artificial intelligence police state. And so this is part of the battle, people, but it's not the whole battle. This is only one chapter, and you've done a great job, Julian, in your chapter. So if you manage to be successful in defeating this, you've still got about a dozen other battles to fight ahead of you. So, so this is a good issue to get warmed up on. It's something that you can get your head around, but there's a lot of other stuff happening out there too, and this is a time of increasingly great danger. So that's all.
Thanks very much. Good one. Thank you. Okay, I think we might wrap it up here because it's getting late, and we seem to have, So, hey, thank you for coming. And tomorrow night, same place, same time. So I hope you'll bring your friends, and you can come back. Some people have been to this session about 3 or 4 times, and they become really good at the treaty.
Yeah. Now, folks, I'll leave it there, and you can see the link below.